Good afternoon. My name is Mike Whitehouse. I'm a retired ag mechanics teacher from Lewis Cass High School, and for the last 5 or 6 years I've been helping Terry Finley set up the skills portion of the small engine state contest.
I'm Dwayne Jones from Warren, Indiana. I own an automotive repair facility outside of Warren, and I work with the Southern Wells High School FFA.
One of the possibilities for the skill contest, and you can find the list of 20 or 25 of them on the FFA website under Small Engines Contest. The one we're doing today is called the voltage drop test, and I was convinced this was a very good skill to know. I guess a few years ago when I was still teaching, we had a teacher at Cass that was having trouble with his pickup truck, and he wasn't around all summer, so I didn't catch up with him until he'd taken the truck to a mechanic, I think 4 or 5 times. He'd bought a new battery, he bought all new cables, he'd bought a new starter motor, and I think the guy had sold him a solenoid, and still every once in a while he'd go to start the truck and he'd get a clicking sound or absolutely nothing. We rolled it into the shop, put it up on the hoist so we could get to the starter motor. In, I would say, less than 10 minutes, we found his trouble and fixed it with absolutely no cost. So again, that's maybe the importance of doing a voltage drop test. It can make you think you've got a lot of problems that you don't really have just because of bad connections or corrosion, that kind of stuff. When you think about the starting circuit, you need to think about a series circuit. Especially in the high amperage part, you've got a possibility for some resistance at the terminal where it's connected to the battery, corrosion and whatnot. Inside the insulated cable, I've seen the copper corrode to where it's only 1 or 2 strands left. You've got resistance at this cable. Internally for the solenoid, you've got a chance for internal resistance, and again, the connections there and there could either be loose or corroded. And anytime in a series circuit you have high resistance, that drops the voltage. So if I'm losing, well, recommended is less than 1/2 volt between the battery and the starter motor. If I'm losing or dropping more than 1/2 volt, then we're going to have to connect each individual component and try to find out where the resistance is, and then just clean that or tighten that or replace that individual part. All you need to do this is a functioning circuit and a volt ohm meter. We're going to set this to DC volts, and anything over 12 volts will work. On this particular meter, 20 is the lowest we've got. I'm going to check the entire hot circuit first, and then we're going to check the entire ground circuit. A lot of people forget about the ground circuit, but it's just as important as getting juice to the starter is getting juice back to the battery. So ground and hot are equally important. Since the hot side goes through a solenoid and a couple extra connections, the limit for how much you should drop is 1/2 volt on a 12 volt system. On the ground side, since it's basically just the starter bolted to the frame, goes through the frame back to a cable that's bolted to the frame and connected to the battery, they recommend less than 2/10 volt. So that's kind of the guidelines to go with. If you come up with higher than that, then since you're dropping 2 or 3 volts here or here, that's 2 or 3 volts that you're not going to get at the start. So it'll crank slow, act like a dead battery or a bad starter or something like that. Okay, to actually do the test, I've got this set on DC volts and something above my battery voltage. Since I want to check the connections as well as the wires, I'm not going to touch it to the cable. I'm going to go right from the battery post, and I'm going to go right to the post on the starter motor. So when we crank that, we're going to watch the tester. It worked when we practiced. Try it again.